Looks kind of gray and gloomy, doesn't it? Threatening rain, 40 degrees. I was just watching Gordon Tickle. Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. So I was just watching Gordon Tickle over in Thailand. I watch his videos usually while I'm eating breakfast and just remember Thailand and like it. And he's doing kind of this in his own way in Thailand, so I enjoy watching him. And I was thinking about the temperature differences there and here. Those Thais were like sitting around a campfire, long sleeves, long pants on. I'm thinking, man, if they were here, they'd be freezing. I don't know what 40 degrees is in Celsius, but that's about what it is. You can see your breath. All right, so woke up this morning and it looked like this, and it was colder. This morning it was in the high 20s, and I was thinking, man, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do all the things I have to do. Seasonal affective disorder like they get in Seattle. How is that cured? With copious amounts of coffee. And actually, Sister Kate got up before me today, which is a rarity. And she ground meat, spiced and made sausage, went out to the chicken coop, got eggs, came back, mixed up pancakes from scratch, made me some delicious coffee with the French press, and then woke me up. I love that woman. It was a delicious breakfast. And normally, here, a little bit of sharing on Pastor Joe. I don't like to eat as soon as I roll out of the rack. I like to get up, say my prayers, do those things, and then drink coffee for about an hour. Till, I'm on my schedule now. I don't do the Army thing anymore. Right? So I like to slow roll into my day, drink coffee, read the news on my newspaper, this thing, see what's going on in the world, see if I can think of something to talk to y'all about. And then I usually start getting hungry about 8 or 9. Well, this morning, breakfast came early, and it was delicious. Oh my goodness. But I still didn't want to go out. And after breakfast, I was reading through the news and that kind of thing. There's really not a whole lot going on that they're reporting. And I'm looking out the window. I got the fire going. Oh, my wife got the fire going too. The fire was out. She was a good wife this morning. Give her the wife prize. And I'm just kind of dreading starting my day. And but finally, you live out here, you got to do the things. And so I got up, and I need to get a chest mount. I have some GoPros. I need to start playing with the GoPros. That's what I need to do in all my ample free time. Learn a new system, but I do need to play with the GoPros so I can put it on a chest harness and then just film what I'm doing. But I did all the chores, fed the goats, got water, dealt with the compost toilet, brought firewood in, those things. Oh, and then I had several, which is why we're standing here, duh. I had several cans of gas that I needed to unload from the pickup truck that I didn't feel like doing the other night, and I had to unload propane. I talked to you about gas. Actually, I think I talked to you too, but y'all watch it, right? About gasoline. This yellow stuff right here is diesel. I have nothing that runs on diesel, but every now and then we borrow a tractor, or I rent a backhoe or a bobcat or something like that. So you need diesel. And then that back there, the blue, is kerosene. And I've had horrible luck with kerosene heaters. You know those round ones that you buy at the hardware store? I've had horrible luck with them. I probably need somebody who's competent with that to come over here and show me how to work the darn thing and fix the one that I took apart and can't get the wick back on. But I have kerosene heaters that I never use. That kerosene is really for emergency use in our oil lamps. I also bought And I didn't see that laying around our messy house. I need to go find them because I want to bring them out here. I bought the last 6 big bottles of lamp oil. I think over in Europe they call it paraffin. It's basically refined kerosene that I put in our oil lamps. And I store them out here. This is my POL shed. Petroleum, oil, and lubricants, right? Flammables, right? And so I keep it all here away from the house. And my wife had me, when I went to High Prairie Acres, she had me bring back this electric weed whacker because our gas-powered still is a little bit too big and heavy for her, and she doesn't like using it, but she wanted to do some weed whacking around here. How can I put this? Sorry. Earthquake! And so I brought it back, and I brought the cord. And, you know, when the generator's running, we can hook her up, and she can weed whack all around the house when it's running anyway. One of the banes of my existence out here in the Ozarks on the homestead, pack rats. Can you see that? I don't think they got all the way through. I have to put my cheaters on to see how close they got. I might be able to fix that with tape. But dang, man. I hate those boogers. They look like huge mice. They have little round ears. They have hair on their tails. And they're about, the critter's about this big with a tail. And they drag everything. They'll drag your wrenches into their middens. Which is where they live. So I can't fold this up and talk to you at the same time. I'm gonna roll this up and hang it up. And then the little tidbit, I always try to give you something useful that you can use. The little tidbit I want to share with you is these propane containers. Can you see those? When I lived in High Prairie Acres, our little slice of heaven, I wanted to get, those are 20-pound propane bottles. That's what those are called, 20-pound propane bottles. And I wanted to get a gas stove, like a gas grill, right? Because I have a Weber. I've always had a Weber, the kettle, you know, that you put charcoal in. And all my man friends had gas grills. Well, where I lived at High Prairie Acres is where I started being a little bit, is it derisive? When one experiences derision, like when people would talk about the high winds that came through. We had 40-mile-an-hour winds that came through. It was horrible. I'm telling you, 60-mile-an-hour winds were nothing. I mean, it was just normal where I lived. And I wanted a gas grill, but I wasn't as handy then as I am now, making stuff and doing stuff. And I knew that if I were to get a gas grill at High Prairie Acres, I would have to bore a hole in my concrete patio, sink an eye bolt in there, and chain the gas grill to it. Not for thieves, for wind, blowing that thing to my neighbors a quarter mile away. And so I never got one. But the real reason I wanted one was because I wanted an alternative cooking means, and then I wanted to get a bunch of propane cylinders. Well, I found a gas grill in a dumpster that I still have never put back together. I know more about gas grills now than I did then, but I brought that to the house, and I actually found an out-of-the-way place that I could tuck it, but it wasn't convenient for cooking, but I could tuck it there and not have it blow away. And then somebody gave me, I think they found it at a dump, an old turkey fryer. You know, it's on a base about this high, steel, has a ring around it, has a burner and a hose, and you hook it up to a 20-pound propane bottle and fry turkeys on it. Somebody gave me one of those, and I thought, okay, well, that's a big burner. I can use that in an emergency for cooking and that kind of thing. It's like an Insta campfire. And so then I'm like, all right, I need to get, what do I need? 3 or 4 propane bottles. That'll do me right. So I went to Cabela's to buy just an empty, brand new propane bottle. I think it was $59. $59, and I wanted 3 of them. And it's like, forget that, man. I'm a government employee, and contrary to what everybody thinks, they don't make that much money. I couldn't afford it. And so I'm back in my little 2-man cubicle land office with my good buddy Doug Whiteside, God bless his soul. And I was telling him my tales of woe of the weekend and what I wanted. He goes, well, I've got 3 old ones out on my back porch. They're all rusted and stuff, but you could probably get those refilled, or maybe just turn them in at like the Blue Rhino place, exchange them 1 for 1. And so I said, yeah, I'm interested. So he brought me these 3 propane cylinders, and they were grody. They had like, years of leaf mold and litter on them. The one had like rust bubbles on it and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, well, and I knew nothing about propane back then. Those of you with propane cylinders and containers and all that, you're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I am that guy now too, but back then I knew nothing. So this is for those of you who know little. So I'm looking at these things, and I hosed them off and I brushed them off, and I'm like, okay, well, I should probably repaint this one, but they have like decals on them and stuff. And I started scraping it with a wire brush, and I had other things to do. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to try and turn in the worst one-on-one exchange for a new propane full bottle and see what happens. And if they say no, then I'll know I need to fix it. So I went to this place, left the propane out there, walked in and said, hey, I got some propane to exchange. A lady came out. She goes, just put it in that rack right there. And she said, can you take this one off? I took a brand new Blue Rhino thing off, and I think I paid $19.95 for a full Blue Rhino in exchange for this nasty, janky thing that somebody gave me for free, instead of paying $59 at Cabela's for an empty one. So I hit upon a thing. And that's one good thing about working in cubicle land. You talk to everybody all day long. I worked in an office building with about 200 people in it. And I just put the word out, I'm looking for your old janky propane bottles. If you don't want them, I'd love them. And a lot of people had them and didn't know how to properly throw them away. You can't just put it out on the curb. And so I ended up with a bunch. I've got these. If you can see those. And behind there in that other white container is more kerosene. I want to have light in the apocalypse, so we've got a lot of kerosene. I've got 4 in the house. I have 4 up by the kitchen. Didn't buy any of them. And so you might want to put out the word to people, hey, if you have any of those old propane cylinders, I'd like them. I was at a car place one time out here in the country where they had Shade Tree Mechanic kind of car place, and they had a scrap pile out in the back, and they had like 3 of those cylinders back there. I said, what are y'all doing with those propane cylinders? Hey, well, I don't know, we're going to scrap them. You want them? I said, yeah. Can I have them? They said, yeah. So I got them. Every now and then somebody would tell me the valve wasn't right and I had to have the valve replaced. I was dumb in the beginning and I went and had valves replaced. I don't know why I did that instead of just turning it in. And now I just turn them in, turn it in for a Blue Rhino. I don't fill them up that way normally. I don't normally do the exchange. It's more expensive. It costs less than $20 to fill up a propane bottle. If you go to a place like the Tractor Supply, I just take my empty ones there. They've got a big machine on a 1,000-gallon tank. They fill them up, give you a receipt, you pay for it. So there's that. Propane bottles. What do I power with them now? My gas grill. Up at the Longhouse, we have a 2 or 3 burner gas like hot plate that we cook on and warm food up on and stuff. Have one there. Have a smoker, a propane smoker. So that's 3 things in the Longhouse. Charlie 6 is my caravan number 6 that my wife and I lived in for 2.5 years. That has 2 bigger propane tanks. They're 30 or 35-gallon propane tanks, pound propane tanks. Not gallon, pound. And that has 2 of them on there that power an oven and 4 little burners. Their fridge no longer works. I had a fridge that ran off of propane. I now use an electric fridge. Thank you to Emmanuel and Tim. Down in the house, turkey fryer that I heat water up on until I get my new system set up. a 2-burner Coleman gas stove. It's one of my little goatees screaming. The kind that looks like a briefcase. That's what Sister Kate cooks all the delicious food that we eat on. And that's it now. I just have those two. I had one on a fridge. And then we have these Buddy heaters. You can get them, I don't know if you can get them at Walmart, or I think I got mine at Cabela's. They're about this big. It's a little portable propane unit. Those things work really good. If you live somewhere where you're worried about keeping your house warm or yourself warm in a winter when everything goes kaput, look into 1 or 4 of those. They run off of the 16-ounce bottles, which is what we're running ours off of, quite frankly, but one can get an adapter for that goes to a 20-pound bottle, and propane's a lot cheaper when you buy it in a 20-pound bottle than in those little 4-packs that you get at Walmart. But yeah, just something to think about. Store your fuel away from your building. This is over 100 feet away from our house. A way to get propane bottles for free. Some ways to use propane bottles, alternative things, and you can store them out in your garage, preferably not your attached garage. Maybe if you only have an attached garage, or you don't have a garage at all, that's another excuse to build yourself a shed that you can also turn into guest housing, right? I see people, I see it on YouTube more than I see it here all the time. All the doom naysayers. I really just want to do the Teddy Roosevelt Man in the Arena quote. It's just too long to quote. You guys should look that up if you haven't seen it. I think I've posted it here before, the Man in the Arena. Anyway, people are saying, oh, be careful, because I was doing that video about the gas cans in the back of my truck and, getting more gas cans. There's many municipal codes, you can't store but so much gas. Yeah, that's true. So I guess don't store any gas. Only store a gallon. Life's all about choices. I guess just one more thing since I'm there, and then I'll let you guys go. For Y2K, I wanted to store gasoline as part of my bug out plan. And I did not want to have, 10 5-gallon containers of gas in my garage. And so what I did, and I lived in suburbia, I lived in a 5-bedroom, 3-bath brick home surrounded by similar homes with big maple trees. What I did is I went back into my nice backyard, and we had a flower bed on 3 sides of the backyard with this landscape timbers. We were renting the house, and mulch and stuff like that. And I dug a trench about this wide, about that deep, and long enough to stick my 10 cans of gas in. I bought 10 cans of non-ethanol gas. I put Stable in it. I didn't know then what I know now. And I buried those cans. Oh, and then I put a piece of like saran wrap plastic over the main nozzle, and then screwed the cap down on top of that. I thought it might give it some more, sealing it off. And then I put them in the trench, and the nozzles and the little air cap on the back that they used to have back then were above grade. Just barely, but they were above grade. And then I took 3 mil black plastic, I cut a strip of it, and I laid that across the whole row of gas cans. I just laid it across there and draped it over the edges. My way of thinking was any water that came down would hit the plastic and go around the cans and then down, so it wouldn't possibly find its way into the gas cans. And then I covered the whole thing in mulch. That part, the black plastic part, in mulch. And it sat there, and I think I wrote about it in my book, Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America. I'm pretty sure I did. And I put that stuff in November, and then somewhere like that summer, August, September, something like that, I took them out and put them in my car, and they were fine. Well, yeah, I know that now. Back then I didn't, though. I probably could have done that and not treated them, and they'd been fine. But, yeah, so there you go. Store some fuel. Do something every day. All right. Hey, I appreciate y'all. Oh, and the other thing, that's why I started out saying it was a great day. I got out here, and I really didn't want to come out and do all the things, carry all the stuff. I had to empty I'm going to do a video on the ultimate prepper bug out vehicle, the CRV. I am. I'm going to put that on YouTube because I got a lot of guff on YouTube. but I came out and I had to unload that. I had chainsaw stuff in there that I had to move. And I was kind of, and it was cold, and I had my Carhartt on, and, but you got to do the things, right? Buck up. And took the coat off, got warm, I had a sweatshirt on, took that off, and it's like, hey, it's kind of nice out here. A lot of times when things are depressing, or you're just like, you don't feel like doing it, or, I'd just rather stay here in my pajamas in bed and stay on the internet instead of going out and working on my garden for next year, because it's cold and wet. Once you start doing it, you feel pretty good. Exercise is an excellent cure for depression. All right, there's probably something in this video that worked for you. All right, I appreciate y'all. I'll see you out there.